Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including Miraculous Ladybug, which we'll be getting into right now. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Delaney Stovall.
Hey, y'all.
And April Collins.
Hi there.
We are back talking Ladybug, this time a very important podcast. We'll be talking all about
the most important
podcast and the most important theory, and maybe in the whole world. Adrien is a Sentimonster. Ever. The most important, certainly one of the biggest Ladybug theories ever.
It might be the only Ladybug theory.
I went back and listened to all the times we talked about the Adrien is Sentimonster theory, and as we talked about, there was season 1, we didn't know who Hawkmoth was, so there was kind of a theory around that, but it was obvious.
I'm still really, I don't want to talk about it. I'm still really mad about it.
We didn't, still mad about that one, okay. But yeah, there was
Plenty holds grudges, okay.
There was a previous theory surrounding this show, but this is the hot new theory we've talked about.
For the record, the theory was Gabriel's
Hawkmoth.
And it was like, it's confirmed that Gabriel is Hawkmoth.
There you go. So that's what happened there. We'll see if this theory goes the same way. Is Adrien a Sentimonster?
I'm feeling pretty confident. I won't lie.
Okay, that coming in hot here. That'll be the first question I'm asking. We've talked about this the last.
Is ready.
She's ready. We've talked about this the previous, the second half of season 3.
And this is a big moment. I'm usually not.
Although you were very quickly convinced when I explained this.
I was very quickly.
So you have been in, and we'll see if we're still in because we have gotten more since then. We got the finale, and we've gotten Felix, which Felix adds to the theory.
Okay, my favorite point on this. So we have an outline, and there's bolded points. My favorite bolded point is Adrien is too perfect. That is
one of the pieces of evidence for.
That is the only point we need for this podcast.
There's a lot of evidence.
The others are superfluous.
Adrien is perfect is true. Okay,
it's the only one that matters.
Okay, but yeah, we're talking all about this theory. Make sure you've seen all of season 3 of Ladybug and before, etc. Or subscribe to us overlyanimated.com, youtube.com/overlyanimated if you have not already. But let's get into Adrien is a Sentimonster. So, Delaney, you said you're still in. Any different feelings now that we've seen all of season 3, now that we've had a little bit of time to sit on this?
No, I think I'm just more convinced. It just makes too much sense. And especially after rewatching some other episodes, it's just
what have you rewatched that have maybe reinforced?
Well, I mean, what we have rewatched, like Feast and
Feast is a big one.
Feast, and then also when we went through our top episodes, just remembering a lot of that's happened. After the Ladybug Sentimonster episode, I think it's confirmed.
Okay, yeah, that was the time that theory came into the spotlight. So you've thought it's been confirmed, and you still think it's confirmed.
Yes.
Okay.
And it just gets more. It's real.
It just gets more confirmed as time goes on.
Yes, it just becomes more, obvious.
If it happened in the season 4 premiere, it'd be okay, we knew that already. It couldn't possibly be more confirmed.
Correct.
Okay. That's very confident. April, are you feeling as confident that Adrien's a Sentimonster?
I'm feeling extremely confident that Adrien is a Sentimonster.
How much is extremely? Seems like Delaney's 100%. What percentage would you give yourself?
You know what? To be fair, I would give myself a 99.99%.
Okay, that is very confident.
Yeah,
pretty. Is that how enthusiastic you are about the theory, or how likely you think it's going to be true?
Both.
Okay, that's what I thought you'd say. So, is this how you felt initially, or is it just seemed more real as time's gone on?
I think initially I remember buying into this idea, but I think that as time has gone on and we've seen, I guess, more evidence because I rewatched all of the episodes, the more I think about it, the more I'm he's definitely a Sentimonster. There's no way he's not a Sentimonster. So
as you're watching episodes, you're watching them through the lens that Adrien's a Sentimonster, and it makes more sense.
Yeah, and it just makes so much more sense now.
Okay.
So
okay, I like that. You've rewatched more episodes than us, so I think you have had the most Adrien Sentimonster lens rewatch so far. It's season 1's great now. If you think Adrien's a Sentimonster and you're watching it, it's so much better, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're I understand this now.
It was just too complex, but now that we have the missing piece, we understand season 1. Okay. And if you're confused about what this theory is, we'll go over all the evidence again in a second. I just wanted to start by checking in where we are with it now. And interesting that you guys are so confident, because this was initially I introduced this theory on the podcast, and I was very excited about this, and I'm still excited, and I still think this is a big theory. But I'm 50% max at whether this is true. You guys are very high on this.
Wow, Dylan, I'm offended.
This 50%
I'm the owner of the
seems
theory
high,
now.
too.
It's mine. It's mine.
It's apparently you guys
control.
have claimed ownership. I have some reservations about none are logical.
You're either in or you're not.
Look,
Dylan.
Yeah, Dylan,
You cannot apply logic to Ladybug. What are you doing?
Well, it's a fair point. If I have to be in or out, I'm in for sure. I'm not going to abandon the theory.
Okay.
But I think that there's some reasons to not believe it. Primarily, I re-listened to when we talked about this before, and I said this is going to happen in the season 3 finale. And it didn't. So, of course, I'm going to be a little more skeptical now.
Remember, we also thought Adrien was going to die.
Yeah,
so.
which is part of the evidence for this theory.
That was the prevailing theory, was that Adrien was
That was the big
die.
Adrien theory in season 2, was Adrien's going to die. There's a lot of foreshadowing. And that is part of the evidence for Adrien's a Sentimonster. So, let's go over a lot of the evidence again, and then we'll comment as we go. And you could jump in, react as I say evidence. I want to start with the most convincing pieces of evidence.
Are these the bolded ones?
Yeah, I mean, it's the bolded ones. They're not in order, though. So
the one at the bottom is making me lose my mind because I forgot about it.
The rings from Felix?
No. That Adrien's allergic to
Adrien's,
feathers.
well, I think we never actually talked about
my
this on the podcast. This is potentially the most blatant clue.
I am losing my mind.
This is so Adrien is allergic to feathers. This is a joke from season 1. I don't know if April can confirm, but this is, I feel like they've talked about this maybe once since season 1, once or twice. So this is not something that the show focuses on anymore, but Adrien's allergic to feathers. That's true. It's been said in episodes, and the Mayura sends out a feather to amok people. I don't remember all the Mayura terminology. I don't think we have good terminology, but we'll use what we can. So the feather is the butterfly of the peacock.
It's also nonsensical. Butterflies don't have feathers.
It's not related to the butterfly, but it's the peacocks have feathers. It's the peacock Miraculous, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just had a stroke. It's fine.
No, you're starting to get excited for the Real Butterflies podcast. That's what's happening. We'll see if we want to do that.
Oh my god.
No, so and Adrien that seems on the nose foreshadowing if Adrien's allergic to feathers and Mayura uses feathers to make Sentimonsters. That's definitely one of the top pieces of evidence, I would say. It's so Delaney, yeah, you think this makes it all the more real.
I mean, it's so dumb, and this is exactly what this show would do. Yes.
Yeah, and if this is true, it means that, and I think it's true regardless. If Adrien's a Sentimonster, I feel like they've been planning it since before season 1, from the get-go. But this is a season 1 joke, so of course this is a
this
intro. This is a core element of what?
We find out Adrien's a Sentimonster, and suddenly the show is serialized.
Well, yeah,
you can't come back from this.
Yeah, I know. I think this is one of the bigger things that could happen in the show.
I know we say this about literally everything, but it's going to happen, guys.
That the show's going to be serialized, or Adrien's going to be a Sentimonster?
I don't know what's worse: the fact that the show is insane, or that watching the show makes you insane.
Certainly seems to be making you insane by being 100% on this theory.
For the record, we are all 3 insane because we podcast on this show.
Yes.
That's so true.
Definitely,
you're not wrong.
That's definitely true.
Watching this show will make you insane.
I think the fandom would agree with that, given current sentiments of Ladybug. April, do you think the feathers is a big clue?
I don't know if it's a big clue, but it's a nice clue that I didn't even think of.
April, it is certainly a clue.
Yeah.
It is definitely a clue.
It doesn't seem as big, but it's the most literal, if that makes sense. There's no evidence that ties it together as much as Adrien being allergic to feathers. But of course, it's not the biggest thing. I'll give you what I think is the biggest piece of evidence here.
Oh my god, it's Thomas, isn't it?
No, but that is a big piece of evidence. I did put that. Delaney's looking ahead in that line. But, so I think that it's a very vague point, but we've answered a lot of questions in season 3. I know everyone's like, the show didn't advance as fast as we would like. A lot of that's about the romance and the identity reveals. Mythology-wise, we have done a lot in season 3, specifically Feast. We satisfied all the mysteries behind Mr. Fu and Master Fu.
And then we solved it.
aka DJ Wiki Wa, and the
Okay, I'm really mad.
I don't know why I thought of, DJ Wong. And the mysteries of the miracle, the origins of that, and we resolved Master Fu. Like, not only we answered the question, we resolved it. Like, what's the biggest question? Of course, it's like, when are they going to reveal their identities, yada yada. But I feel like Hawkmoth's going to make his wish, et cetera, et cetera. Like, we know Emily's like in the dead wife garden. Like, the biggest remaining question, I think, is why is Emily in a coma? Like, what did they do with the Miraculouses initially? This is the one question I think we have no information on, because
I'm trying to remember. Was it damaged when they found it?
Yeah, we talked a lot about this in the podcast.
Yeah.
Unclear, but probably.
Because I'm trying to remember from watching Feast. I thought they made a comment about it.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of deja vu with you guys bringing up points. But no, I don't know. Like, Feast, I think maybe leads you to believe that it was damaged when DJ Wong used
I hate you.
Like, I think it maybe leads you to believe that, but it could be when Emily used it. It's possible, but regardless, like, Gabriel didn't start being Hawkmoth and like being a supervillain until he had a motivation to do so, which was
like, they just had them.
Like, so it's like, why did they found them, sure, but why did they start using them in the first place? It's not to send out Akumas. That was only after Emily got her.
It's still unclear if they actually actively were seeking out the temple.
Right, they could have just stumbled upon it. Yeah, so basically that's like the big, in general, all the backstory surrounding Gabriel and Emily is the big thing left. But specifically this question is, why did Emily use the Peacock Miraculous? We know she fell sick because of it. And there's really not a lot of idea. I don't know what the prevailing theory is, other than just Adrien, they wanted to, either the two things we've speculated, the two possibilities, is they either wanted to make a kid because they can't have kids, or Adrien died, Adrien was real, and they brought him back to life. And so those are the two possibilities for the backstory of why they made a Sentimonster Adrien. Emily and Gabriel couldn't have children, they wanted to make a child, or they did have a child, Adrien, he died, they wanted to bring him back to life by making a Sentimonster. This is like the thing, out of all the things, this makes the most sense. The only other vague reason why Emily might have used it is she just wanted to screw around with superpowers. And I feel like that's a lot less satisfying.
I mean, who doesn't?
Well, there's also
maybe more realistic. Like, hey, I'm going to try this on and use the mayor powers.
Well, I think, like, kind of to discredit that specific theory is that we've seen Mayura, like, Natalie she's used it more than I think any of us anticipated. And it obviously took a toll on her, but I think it's maybe pretty evident that obviously Emily used it to a much greater extent. Because my thing is, if you were just messing around and it started making you sick, I think you would stop. So, like, I feel like she, it was the whole, like, creating Adrien that, put her in the coma. Yeah,
that's a very good counterpoint to just the general notion of, like, Emily just tried out the Miraculous and she fell sick. Like, well, Natalie isn't in a coma. The reason...
Also, we've seen her do some very impressive things.
And she's done some big things. And and after watching Feast, we're like, the reason why this would cause so much harm is that there's a Sentimonster active for so long. Like, that's the thing. Like she fell sick because her Adrien Sentimonster is active for a long time. And like maybe the Miraculous broke because of that in the first place with Master Fu. He took it off.
Well, there's also the chance they're using it wrong. Like, in the same sense that Hawkmoth is not using his Miraculous the way it was intended. And so that might also be like how they're making a Mux might not be the intended use of the Peacock Miraculous.
Yeah, and we're jumping around really faster, but I do think a big theme of season 3 was that they misuse of the Miraculous. That's hammered in, like, don't use the Miraculous for selfish means. This came up a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe this big selfish use of making of bringing Adrien back is is the reason why
Well,
there's
and that
such a
ties
catastrophic
into
consequence.
with the idea of the wish.
Right, and then also we know the wish. The confusing thing is this is separate from the wish, where the wish on its own, we know there will be a consequence if you make a miracle wish. In this case, it's like there's an unattended effect of using it just karmically, I guess. But there's like a big karmic consequence. Because that's the thing, we have a wish mechanism, and like we like created a life without the wish mechanism, but then Emily went into a coma and everything went wrong. It is confusing. And I will, so I'm going to be giving a lot of evidence, re-listen to the podcast. Thanks a lot to, Zirf, who, from the Discord, who helped me find times in the podcast and made a big Tumblr post compiling everything, and we'll reference a lot of stuff. We're not going to hit on everything because there's a lot of possible evidence here.
There's just so much evidence.
Yes, but thank you very much. And, we've hit on a lot of it already. So I feel like that's the big thing, is like, there will be an answer to the question of why Emily was using the Miraculous. So it's not like this is just like, oh, something could happen, something won't happen. Like there will be some sort of reveal. Is it this big or this big of a twist? We don't know. But I think, to me, that's like a big thing. Here's another big thing, one we haven't mentioned, that this may appeal to you, may not appeal to you. Just the fact that this ties in so well to the fairy tale themes of Ladybug, I think is a big reason to believe this. It's not something we talk a lot about on this podcast, but the show does make frequent references to fairy tales throughout its episodes. Some more explicit than others. There's the one early season 3 episode that was very explicit about it. But Adrien being Pinocchio is a very clear kind of fairy tale theme, and then Hawkmoth being Geppetto. So that just feels like something the show would do. And as we mentioned, in general, Adrien's too perfect and Gabriel's very overprotective.
He is too perfect. It's true.
Maybe all this too perfect talk is going to make me use the
either way, don't do it. Either way, of Gabriel being overprotective, that lends itself to either theory, that either they couldn't have a child or Adrien died. So like, I feel like it doesn't matter regardless. Like, him being overprotective is definitely like a plus.
If it's either or.
It fits either or.
And there is also an in-show explanation, which is just that something happened to his wife, Emily, and he doesn't want to lose his son too. So that kind of makes sense on its own. But it's just like such a recurring thing that he's so overprotective.
Oh my God, I had a thought.
That it ties into that well. Yes, Delaney.
So, Gabriel clearly cares for his son a lot, but he's also the worst dad ever. And he's very distant. And so I think the part of the reason why is if, in either case, if either Adrien died or they wanted to make a child, Adrien is the reason Emily is in the dead wife garden. In which case, Gabriel loves Adrien, but he blames him. He feels bad about it. Like, it's hard for him to be with Adrien.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I like your phrasing of in the dead wife garden instead of in a coma. I should be using that. Thank you.
She's in the dead wife garden.
In the dead wife garden.
I'm surprised April didn't.
She's in her stasis pod in the dead wife garden.
Is it a stasis pod or is it just like a coffin? I don't know.
Either way, it's creepy. That's all I know.
Oh, yeah, of course. But a majority of listeners in an earlier podcast said that they would like their own dead wife garden. So I don't really understand.
True.
But
we couldn't figure. Well, the question was poorly worded. It was one of those it was okay. Do you want to have a dead wife garden, or do you just appreciate the concept of the dead wife garden?
I said, would you like your own? Would you want your own dead wife garden?
Your own dead wife garden.
That means you have to be a dead wife to have. Okay, this is
or do you have to have a dead wife?
Shot out of a cannon. Too much going on. We don't need to talk about this.
Why not both?
You could.
Well, we already know April wants to be the dead wife in Hawkmoth's dead wife garden. So it's fine.
Yes. It's fine.
Okay.
It's okay.
And we haven't talked about the last major piece of evidence, which is what started this theory. Although I think this theory was percolating before the episode Ladybug. This is the episode when everyone started talking about it, Ladybug, and that's because there's this part of Ladybug where there's a Sentimonster of Ladybug, and she is murdered, and they're like, "Oh my God, you just killed her!"
Well, she had her own
She had her own. She
breaks
had, free.
She had her own personality. She had she like once she had a hold of her like her amok, then like she was free essentially. So she was just like another person.
This is the first time we've seen like a person amok as opposed to like, you know, a giant moth or
a giant lollipops.
Yeah, see, like this is
yeah,
like, this is so weird. There has to be a point,
right? So that's the big thing is like this was just a very weird thing to happen. So like, is this hinting at?
And it's dark.
Is this hinting at it? Like it was way too dark for the show. Is this hint foreshadowing something coming later? It does prove that Adrien could, like, in theory, I think this proves that it could be true because
in theory anyone could be a Sentimonster.
Ladybug the Ladybug Sentimonster. Bugaboo, like bug something. The fandom named her. She has agency. So like Adrien, we're not saying Adrien's like a robot or anything. Like he could be his own person and be a Sentimonster. It's like, you know, it's like Pinocchio. Like he wants to be a real boy, but he has his own thoughts and stuff before that.
You can be sentient and not be a real boy.
Yes, and as we mentioned in previous podcasts, you know, like themes of AI and cloning and stuff like that. You know, this is prevalent in modern culture.
My fiance is trying to figure out what we're talking about.
Just in general?
She's just looking at me like, what?
Have you explained the Adrien Sentimonster theory to her?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh.
Probably for the best.
It is right here. I will explain it, and I will fill everyone in the next podcast.
Okay. Thank you.
What side is she on?
We'll see. Yeah, you guys.
Well, she's still on the whole Plog's the best, so like my hopes are not high.
You know, that's pretty.
She's offended.
Didn't Plog nothing to do with this? So maybe Plog ties in something.
One day we'll have a peanut gallery, and it's just my fiance yelling.
I think we sometimes have that.
We do. It's I usually just get rude text messages during the podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You mentioned this. Okay, I like that. There's another podcast where someone's spouse texts them during, and that's like a joke. But so the Ladybug episode, it's kind of the spark for it, and it's still one of the biggest pieces of evidence because it hasn't really paid off. Like in general, season 3 all about Sentimonsters. There's a lot of Sentimonster stuff.
Yeah, way
too much for it not to have further consequence. Probably.
It's way too much for like Mayura to just be like a casual sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of like focus and emphasis on it versus like, I mean, we have like the Feast, an entire episode, and Ladybug. Like that's 2 episodes out of a season that focuses on Sentimonsters specifically. And I mean,
Mayura just shows up. Like the whole season is like, I'm bored. I'm gonna make an amok, and it's like, bro, you're dying.
When's that gonna pay off?
Well, it doesn't have to because we fixed it.
But there's also been like more of a focus on Natalie as well, and it like the fact that also Adrien is pointing out like, oh, like Natalie's getting dizzy spells just like my mom would, like that kind of thing. So, and you know, she's out there and she's creating all of these amucks with a broken Miraculous. So I think that there's been more than enough emphasis for this to like tie in like very well and to be like a central part of season 3.
Yeah, and you're right about the show's been very purposeful comparing Natalie's sickness to Emily's. Which, and the Peacock Miraculous being broken, it just got fixed. We'll get back to that in a second. It's all very purposeful for some reason. And there's like a lot of emphasis on a sidekick villain. Although you could argue it's already kind of paying off because she's more of a character. But there's just a lot of meta like evidence in the focus on season 3. And here's the remaining kind of major evidence. And we talked about the fact that we thought Adrien was going to die for a while, but season 2 was maybe foreshadowing that. There was, most notably in the finale of season 2, there's like an illusion of Kat dying.
Yes.
And then there's other like small lines kind of throughout the season. This was Adrien as Sentimonster is the Adrien's gonna die of season 3 basically. So it's like there's an evolution of that. And the reason that supports this theory is because Adrien could have died in the past. If you go by what we call the needle addendum, which is that Adrien was real, he died, and then got Sentimonstered back to life. Then the foreshadowing is foreshadowing like the events of the past that are hidden. So I think that ties in really well to that. Could also generally just tie into like Adrien not being a person, or like he gets his like amok destroyed and he dies and they have to bring him back to life or something. Like even if Adrien was always Sentimonster Adrien, he could, like, that could be really dramatic if he dies, like Ladybug died in the Sentimonster Ladybug.
Right.
Yeah. So I think
and he really connected with the Sentimonster Ladybug too.
Yeah.
So I mean, there could be something to be said about that as well. Like, he seemed a little bit more upset about it than like Marinette did. So
yeah, and I think, you know, Feast, Natalie's like, I can sense that this is a Sentimonster, you know. So I think that there's some amount of magical tying to these sorts of things. And it's and what I just said is leads to the question of like, why don't they know that Adrien's a Sentimonster? Well, they might know. Like this could be something known among, like, you know, Gabriel would know this. Natalie generally knows everything Gabriel knows. So it's just hidden information from everyone else, basically. And for reference, I don't think we think Adrien knows he's a Sentimonster. I think regardless of what's happening,
there's no way he knows.
He probably does not know. Yeah. So it's only people that would know are Gabriel, Emily, who's currently in the Dead Wife Garden, and maybe Natalie. So yeah.
I think it's also important to note, we're talking about, like, you know, they killed the Ladybug, and like, this might seem a bit outlandish and not only foreshadowing Adrien's death, but we've been, I mean, Carte Blanche and all these different episodes were like, we kill them, like, in various ways, or like we are really raising the stakes of episodes.
Yeah, so and maybe in two ways. One, it brings kind of death into the equation of the show, and two, just generally we're ramping up. Yeah.
And also, I mean, again, like with Master Fu gone, like, excuse me, DJ Wong.
You did that to yourself.
I hate you. We have, you know, this sense of something has changed.
Our status quo has been upended, so this would upend the status quo, but that's kind of already happened now.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. But it's just one of those, like, big things are coming and you can feel it, and it's hard not to imagine that it's the Sentimonster thing.
Well, I mean,
so that's what the entirety of the season.
That's a strong take, but in general, the Sentimonster, something with the Sentimonster. I agree. I think, like, in general, I think the show wants you to believe that, at least it wants you to think about the fact that Adrien might be a Sentimonster. Like, regardless whether this theory, I have some doubts whether it's going to actually happen, but I think you're supposed to, like, think about it, because sometimes shows do this.
It wouldn't even occur to you, except the fact that they made a person.
Right. So I think there's a lot of purposeful things, and I think sometimes the show brings stuff up and doesn't fully pay it off. I think most notably it's like, is Gabriel going to find out that Adrien's cat? And so it could be one of those things, or it could be a thing that's paid off. But I'm convinced that
we played with that again too.
Yeah, we played with that in Carte Blanche.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
Gabriel
he figures out, but it's a surprise to him.
Well, it's not really that he figures out. Natalie calls him, and just
Natalie's like, "You're dumb.
Your son
did. She did. Okay, I feel like that's out of character for Natalie
to snitch.
Because to me, I feel like if this really happened, Natalie would feel conflict because she does obviously care for Adrien.
Yeah. I think there's like shock in her face. That was like a very accelerated part of the episode.
Yeah. So I think maybe in reality there would be more of a pause.
Probably, although I think, like, ultimately she's loyal to Gabriel. We've seen a lot all the time, but yeah, she has a lot of attachment.
I mean, she is like madly in love with him.
I wonder if she like feel like, because she does have like moments where she like has a lapse in judgment according to Gabriel, and I wonder if that's because she knows that he's a Sentimonster.
I was about to say that, right? She might know, and that caused a lot of sympathy for her.
Yeah, and she's just like, well, I just feel bad because at any moment, who knows if he's gonna like disappear or not?
Yeah, and it would be crazy if she didn't know, and that was true. Like, but
and obviously she like listens to Gabriel, but she does, you know, she has those lapses. But then at the same time, it does feel genuinely like Natalie wants to protect Adrien.
Yeah, I think the show tells you that she cares about Adrien. But yeah, another reason I think the show wants you to think, at least consider, that Adrien's Sentimonster. This is a very meta evidence, but if you did not know, after our Ladybug podcast came out, the episode Ladybug, Thomas, we know he listens, and sometimes he retweets our.
I forgot.
Sometimes he retweets. I don't know if that's fake or not. Our podcast tweets. All he did was he made his own tweet with just the link to the website post of this podcast, the Ladybug podcast, where we brought up Adrienne's Sentimonster for the first time, and it was just the link, nothing surrounding it. I think I think he deleted a lot of his tweets, so it's gone now probably. But we were like, why did he do this? Why not just retweet?
Yeah.
Why not say some descriptor of why you're tweeting this link? He just ominously tweeted the link to the podcast where we brought up this major theory for the first time. Very much a troll move, whether it's true ends up being true or not. This is probably he did this to troll because of the theory. That's our leading theory. On him talking about the theory. That'd be it leads you to believe it leads credibility to the theory, I would say, because the creator, posted something related to it, kind of. That was like the highlight that was like definitely the most notable thing of that podcast, so it makes sense. Other random things, I talked about this feast, Feast existed for hundreds of years, the Sentimonster feast, so Adrien could have been a Sentimonster long term. Adrien could be a Sentimonster even though Emily detransformed as Mayor. I think all that's confirmed because of Feast. The mechanics kind of check out because of that episode. Yes. And then the last piece of evidence we got in Felix were these rings, which the episode placed a lot of emphasis on. And the prevailing theory, I think, still with these rings is that this is the amoked object for Sentimonster Adrien. One or both of these rings contains the amok for Adrien. In the episode, we talk about these rings being important, having a history. At the end, Gabriel loses his ring, but then takes Emily's ring off of her dead wife Garden's body and then puts it on himself.
It's very convenient that they have the same ring size.
Yeah.
But, okay. So I like that idea, but I want to take it a step further.
Okay, I already approve.
So, because there's two rings, right?
Yeah.
And you can only have an amok of one object. So what if Emily's a Sentimonster too?
I feel like we've explored who else could be a Sentimonster. Why is Emily a Sentimonster?
Because
what if it's Gabriel?
Yeah, what if Gabriel? No, okay. What if it's Emily? And so, Gabriel would wear Gabriel used the Peacock Miraculous to create Emily, and then he gave the Peacock Miraculous to Emily. Emily used it to create Adrien.
You know what? This is insane, but I'm about it.
But that's also to say, why it broke, too.
This is absolute walnuts insane.
Yeah, I can't really comment on this because it's too complicated. I don't.
No, I love it. I love. It's not complicated. It's
and then one of the rings is for Emily, and then one of the rings is for Adrien. And so my guess is that
is she a comatose Sentimonster?
What?
She's a comatose Sentimonster?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so was Feast.
Yes, yeah. Feast was frozen. That's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because Feast was frozen for all of that time, and then came back, was revived or whatever. And maybe because the Peacock Miraculous is broken, he's Gabriel's unable to revive Emily just on her own, on his own. Does that make sense? Because
the whole thing doesn't. I mean, no, that doesn't make sense. But I would need to wrap my head around it. I struggle with adding some complexity to some discussions surrounding this. But in general, there's two rings, right? That's confusing. I think. Why are there two rings?
Well, I think we talked about it in the podcast. Was that we were this is the amok, or these are separate magical objects.
So the only alternative to them being the amucked objects, or these are miraculouses or some other magical object. But it makes more sense, I think, for it to be an amucked object than it does for it to be miraculouses we don't know about, because all our miraculouses in that box are accounted for. We potentially expect more miraculouses, but it doesn't match up with the timeline why those would be from the other miracle boxes. They could have found more, I guess, when they were there.
They could have.
They could have.
These rings are special just to Emily's family.
But they're in her family. So I think that they're just rings, and then they made them special by doing something to them. But yeah, there's two of them. Maybe like they're the twin rings, so maybe you like put them next to each other, and together they're the emucked object. Like they're touching each other when you send the feather into them. Maybe they both could be the emucked object.
I think only one of them would be it, and my guess would be it's the ring that Emily was wearing.
Right, because we speculated that at the end of the episode, Gabriel is like upset, but he doesn't seem super panicked. So he takes the ring off. Maybe he thinks it's safer on him than in the Dead Wife Garden. I don't know why, though. Does anyone else set foot in the Dead Wife Garden? That seems like the most secure place.
Natalie's been in the Dead Wife Garden.
Natalie has, it's true.
Natalie is an extension of Gabriel.
But also, he has to, like, keep up appearances, too. Like, he still has to be, like, seen with a wedding ring on.
When Markov was going to blow up the Dead Wife Garden.
When who was going to blow up the Dead Wife Garden?
Markov.
So the Dead... Okay, this you're opening a can of worms. The Dead Wife Garden is a separate place than the Hawkmoth's lair, probably.
No.
He was in his lair when Markov was setting
his
lair has stories
and levels.
One of our podcast topics is we try to make a schematic of Hawkmoth's lair. Like, we try to understand.
We should just live stream it, and, like, someone has to draw it.
Logistics of Hawkmoth's lair. It is already on our topic list. So, like, clearly we're confused about this. I definitely think they're separate places. They could be related, but, it's, okay, this is a whole thing. Because the problem is, in Chat Blanc, he hits him to the Eiffel Tower from his, from the Dead Wife Garden. Okay. It doesn't make sense, but maybe we could figure it out. So, it could be the ring he still has. We probably don't think the one Felix has is the Sentimonster one. Or I think it could be both of them. Or maybe there's two Sentimonsters. Yeah, that's true. Or maybe one is a Sentimonster and one is a Miraculous. I don't think so. But could be that there's just a lot of emphasis on these rings, and it's an episode right at the end of the season, and it leads you to wonder what's up with the rings. So that could tie into it too. I think that's a big component. And like in general, one of the big questions after learning of after like thinking of this theory for the first time is like, okay, but what's the emucked object? And Felix proposes an answer pretty quickly. If you watch the episodes in order, I think that's answered before you get the Ladybug, but whatever. We might be influenced by the order we got the episodes. And last piece of evidence, random stuff, is there is lines throughout the series noting, I do want to note this, that in Chat Blanc, Gabriel says, I will get the Miraculouses. I'll repair the mistakes of the past and make sure you return to us. There's specific references to mistakes of the past. So it's like they were trying to do something and they screwed up. Like that lends, it's just more supporting evidence to the fact that Emily was doing something originally that it's not like, oh, they made a mistake just screwing around with the Miraculous. I don't think that line makes as much sense with that. Like, I think there's like something that happened and they screwed it up. So, that's like a big component. And here's the last thing. So a big confusing thing about this is the chronology of Adrien. And it's confusing because if Adrien was created as a Sentimonster, if we don't do the thing where he died and he was brought back to life, maybe he didn't have a childhood. Is that possible? Well, there's a shocking lack of references to Adrien's childhood in the show. If you watch Origins, that's the first time he goes to school. That's the first time anyone except for Chloe sees him outside of his family. That's the big complication to this, is that him and Chloe are childhood friends, but we don't really know what that means. They could have just known each other a year or two before or something.
They're also still children.
So childhood friends could just mean the last year. So, but like Adrien just wasn't created like a day before the show started, but it could, they could easily do a twist where he was created at 5 or 6, or like they could pull that. It doesn't completely gel with things we've heard, but there's just so little there with Adrien's childhood. I think that's notable. Even in Party Crasher, apparently Kim says, truth is we've only known him since he came back after the summer. So like there's references to the fact that they don't know Adrien until recently. That seems like that's something that's on the show's mind. So I think it gets confusing when you get into the like Adrien's childhood and stuff. But either way, I think, probably personally the notion that Adrien died and then was brought back to life, that makes more sense to me, I think.
That would support like the Chloe and Adrien being childhood friends. And then
yes,
that supports like every time like they say like, oh, they grew up together, that
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
situation.
And it's like the Sentimonster would have his memories. And also like Emily, of noting, Emily was alive until pretty recently before the show started.
So it was only she's only been like missing for a year.
Yeah, they had the anniversary recently. So it's not like she died when he was 5 creating him, and since then she's been gone. That doesn't make sense. So Adrien would had to have been created if Emily being missing is tied to the creation of the Sentimonster, then you can't really have Adrien just being created when that happened, unless Chloe and him being childhood friends refers to like the last year or something. It's such a tight window that I think it fits. It just makes more sense that there was a real Adrien. I also think that's the more dramatic answer.
Well, and I think also too is like, because like so we've seen Natalie get sick, like, and she's been progressively getting sicker and sicker. And so, but we've also seen her creating what we can assume is more Sentimonsters than Emily did. So maybe it took longer for Emily to like get to the same point as Natalie. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, it's you guys were talking about this on one of the podcasts, and it's a little hard for me to follow. But this notion of like Emily versus Natalie, in terms of how they got sick, how quickly they got sick. She could have been making Sentimonsters for a while, and this is the result, like Emily, or like we talked about. Maybe this is the one big thing. Maybe it's the scope of it that. Well,
we know. So now the Miraculous has been fixed. But that doesn't mean Natalie's going to be okay, because we're not.
Okay, so let's tie it into that. That was my next question. So the big thing that happens related to this in the finale, the only thing in the finale that could tie into this is they fix the Peacock. So what does that mean, Delaney? Is Natalie going to be okay? Is Emily going to come back to life? Does this affect Sentimonster Adrien?
See, that's the thing. So it's interesting because we learned this, in snide comments, and then also in legitimate like kind of mythology reveals. So when someone transforms, like they are one with the Miraculous, they're kind of one with the Kwame, like they're all kind of in it together, but like the Kwame's also literally the suit anyway. It's weird. But like you become Ladybug, so it's like Tiki and Marinette together are Ladybug. So it's hard, and we know I don't remember her name. The Peacock Kwame, what's her name?
Is it Duzu?
I don't remember.
Or is that Hawkmoth's?
Well, that's Nuru.
Duzu. Nuru. It's Duzu then, yeah.
Okay, well, she's crazy. So, like, clearly the damage to the Miraculous has impacted her. And so, the only thing is this damage lasting? Because the thing is, Emily no longer has the Miraculous, but she's in a coma. So, I don't think fixing the Miraculous will bring her out of the coma. And in that same instance, I don't think Natalie will be cured. I think it has done lasting damage to them, not unlike cancer. So I wonder, like, I don't necessarily think Natalie is going to die, but like, I do agree with April that this might have been a progressive illness that eventually, that like, Emily was probably going to die, and like the only thing keeping her alive right now is the whatever stasis pod in the Dead Wife Garden.
It's hard for me to understand why she would progressively use the Peacock. Like, what were they doing? Because
no, that's not what I mean. I mean, what I mean is that she used it,
and then it just gets worse over time. So
she's sick. Like, that's the thing. Like, whatever is messed up with the Miraculous has infected her. Like,
okay, so this relates to what we were just talking about. Like, maybe she used it to create Adrien 10 years ago, and it's just finally now. And
she is ill. So like that's the thing, and that's why I also think Natalie is not going to be cured. Like, I do think like because of the like how important it is, like the relationship between the Kwame and the Miraculous holder, and then also the physical object in the Kwame. Like, I think like it is actually like it's more like a progressive illness, because it's clearly affected Emily, and she doesn't even have the Miraculous.
Yeah, this is okay. This is an excellent point that legitimizes the. They could have just made their son. Like, they could have just made him, because it could have been a long time ago, and it just came around finally where it finally consumed her, and she went into the Dead Wife Garden. And that it's like Natalie uses it once, she's on track to eventually be overcome by this, but she's accelerating it by continuing to use it, versus Emily used it once a long time ago. She was okay for like 10 years.
Or again, it's one of those things like they didn't know until Emily was sick. Like,
yeah,
and
I
think
maybe too like it was one of those things where they just assumed she was just like generally sick at first, versus knowing that it was because of the Peacock Miraculous.
That's true. How would you know? Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, you wouldn't, especially like if it's a slow progression, or versus like Natalie, who's using the Miraculous like pretty consistently, so it would progress a little bit quicker in her case.
I think this is a great point. I think in a lot of ways this is more plausible than she uses the thing to revive Adrien and instantly falls into the dead wife garden. I think that's in a lot of ways that's more satisfying. So I think either of these definitely could be true in terms of creating Adrien originally. It's more of a crazy game. Human emotions wise, this is more impactful if Adrien was always a Sentimonster. It's like the Adrien we've come to know and love. Regardless, he's always been a Sentimonster from when we've seen him on the show in either theory. But the fact that his whole life he was a Sentimonster, that's even crazier.
Well, to me, that's what I want. Like, to me, that's much more satisfying than like the real Adrien died, because in that case, that we kind of get into some like weird, like, don't know how I feel about that territory. Versus, like,
it's harder
Adrien
to resolve
just
that
is a Sentimonster.
Yeah.
That's a tough one to resolve. Adrien is a Sentimonster. He just becomes human with the wish or something. And that's the wish.
Or in that case, it's not like, at this point, other than Adrien needing to have control of his own amok, like, there's no real difference, as far as we can tell, between being a human and being a Sentimonster.
Right. You don't even need to make him a real boy. But originally what I proposed was that potentially Hawkmoth making the wish to turn Adrien into a real boy would cure Emily if the Sentimonster being alive for so long was the reason she was sick. Now you guys have proposed that just using it once infected her and has slowly eaten at her, then that wouldn't be the case. That would probably still, like, maybe magically that would go away if you erase the fact. Maybe you wish I wish Adrien was always real and we never created a Sentimonster. Maybe you can phrase it like that, and then that satisfies both. But like, that's kind of another appealing thing, is that like the wish would tie into both of these things.
I just had a really dark thought.
Yes.
Let's hear it.
What if we know he's protective of Adrien, but what if it's because he wants to keep Adrien alive long enough so that he can make the wish that Adrien was never created?
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
Again, like dark thought. That's all. It just happened. It's my brain.
I mean, I like the reason you went there is because I said this whole complicated thing that tried to tie the wish to, but the more simple wish is like, I wish we never tried this. I wish I had my wife back.
Yeah.
That kills
and so
Adrien.
then,
in a way that satisfies the consequence of the wish, where Adrien dies inherently by the wish. And then, so no, in a lot of ways, that's a good wish. It's like, I changed my mind. Take Adrien away.
Well, it's interesting too, the paradox that would create, because then Hawkmoth never would have happened.
Yeah. This show has dealt with this thing already to a certain extent, and so we would have to delve into its concept of time travel.
Phonix would be like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, Phonix would have a nightmare with that.
Yeah, she just shows up and she's like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, let me give you the reasons why I'm skeptical. Let me find where I wrote those down about the theory, because we've given a lot of reasons why it could be true. I think in general, there's a lot of stuff to fit together for this theory. Like, there's a lot of like, okay, sick for like how long sick for? What's the timeline? What's the mechanics of the mythology? How does the wish fit into it? There's a lot of things we need to kind of make work. And the show has shown a willingness to do that, I would say. A little bit frustratingly to me, but in Feast, when we get the flashback, Master Fu, aka Wiki, whatever. He loses control of the Sentimonster, and in order to do so, it's like, oh, but I accidentally threw the staff away. Oh, and I forget the other one. But there's caveats. Like, the show is willing to include further explanations in why things happen that aren't so neat, which is what would be needed for this to be true, I would say. I think you need to give us some more information to convince us that this is plausible within the scope of the mythology.
I mean, at that time, Feast was in charge of his own amok.
Right. But
so that still checks out with like what we understand.
The show, in general, the point I'm trying to make is that, here's the other example. In Chat Blanc, like we've talked about, there's this whole chalkboard scene at the end in order to justify to the audience why Marinette wouldn't make the connection that Adrien is Cat Noir. The show will go the extra step to tie things together for the audience to like, oh, but it does fit if you add this information. And I think there's a lot of that you have to do if you want to make this reveal, which I'm saying is still plausible because I think the show has done it before, but it is not neat. I do think this isn't the neatest theory just because like it ties together a lot of things, but it's just, there's a lot to come together.
The problem with this theory is that it makes too much sense.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I'm saying.
It's too easy.
So the other big thing, it is at this point easy tying a lot of things together. But the other thing, like, obviously, I feel like this is the big counterpoint is like, this is too big for the show to do. Like the show has not done anything like this before.
I don't know. I think anything's possible after they killed Ladybug.
Right, so killing Ladybug.
That was messed up.
In the scope of the mythology, I don't think that's that big, but in terms of like, yeah, it's being screwed up. I do think that leads you to believe that. But this is like, this is Master Fu being written off the show times 5 or 10 or something. Like if Adrien said, this is crazy. So this is big. Of course you should be skeptical because this is bigger than anything the show has done before. So I think on its surface, and I'm like, will the show do this? Like, I feel like this is like this, if they're going to do this, it's when Gabriel makes the wish. It's when we resolve Gabriel being Hawkmoth, as we're maybe expecting him to pass it on to someone else at some point. And that would be probably next season. Probably all that.
Crazy is that like the show has a future.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing I think that really gets me is about a lot of events. And like obviously
that's from Time Tagger, yeah. Yeah,
no, obviously we can change the future, but like the fact that we've seen adult Alex and we know there's adult Ladybug and Cat Noir, it's just like what?
But I wonder if also, like, because remember how adult Alex was like, or I think it was adult Alex. No. It was someone else who was like, oh, like, I said, like, the Hawkmoth had it, but that wasn't, like, who said that you were the same Hawkmoth? Like,
yeah, that was the adult Chris Master.
So there could also be, like, a potential, like, I would, like, fully believe that Marinette will always be, like, Ladybug, like,
if the future in Time Tracker is true, then Marinette's still Ladybug, probably, but Hawkmoth is not.
But we don't. But Hawkmoth is not. But we also, it wasn't necessarily confirmed that Cat Noir is still Adrien.
I think it's implied, but it's not. You could work around. Yeah. You could write around that.
Yeah,
you could. Yeah, it's so.
Well, and I think the other, like, you could work around that specifically because they do take the time to say, "Hey, I said it was Hawkmoth, but that doesn't mean it was you."
Maybe that leads you to believe other things.
Yeah,
I like that too.
It's like a small, like, sprinkle to support a later idea.
But granted, well, I think the main reason they dropped that is to hint at, like, there will be an end to Hawkmoth in the show.
Yeah. But I think like Adrien being a Sentimonster doesn't mean he's not Cat Noir. I think all of us are probably expecting a happy ending to this, where he either becomes a real boy or everyone's like, it doesn't matter, and we find a way to make sure he doesn't die. Like and
then they fall in love, and everyone's happy. That's it.
And it also like Adrien Sentimonster adds a whole nother dynamic to the big love story of the show. It's like human and magical, and it's like I think it's appealing in a lot of ways. But I do think it would have a happy ending, where I don't think Adrien's just going to die because he's a Sentimonster or anything. Probably, you know.
For the record, we thought he was going to die anyway when we didn't think he was a Sentimonster. So
yeah, that's true.
Yes. This. And so we found a better. Everyone's like, oh, don't do that. Don't expect Adrien to be a Sentimonster. Don't do that to Adrien. This is better than him dying. He's alive, you know.
Yeah, he's alive in this theory for now.
Okay. So last thing, final comments, and answer this, Delaney. When you think this is going to happen, when will it happen? Season 4, or is this like an endgame season 5?
I hate this question. It's impossible to play this game with the show. So
it is.
So I don't even have a concept of season 5. Like, what even is season 5? So I'm going to go with season 4.
Okay.
It just feels like, okay, I'm like, let's give the show some credit. We really built up the Master Fu stuff. Like, that felt very earned.
They paid that off in the same season.
Yeah, and I think we have also earned Sentimonster Adrien.
It feels like we're there already. It feels like they wouldn't wait that long.
I mean, by that same token, it's also it is very big. Honestly, I think this would require at least 3 episodes to get through.
They did say,
that with Chloe.
Who was it that, like, tweeted or whatever and was like, oh, like, episode 4 of
I think it was like
season 4 is really gonna kill you guys.
It was season 5 though. They're writing season 5 right now, I think. Yeah, maybe it was 4. I don't remember.
Granted, that could just refer to them fake kissing again. So like
that could be a reveal. There's a lot of potential things. April, do you think season 4 is well for this reveal?
No, because I feel like for this like reveal, we have to have some form of identity reveal, and they're not going to do that until season 5. Because like it's 25? The only way.
That's an interesting point.
It's the only way to make it weighted. You know what I mean? Like for our characters. So.
Yeah, because it would be neater to have Marinette react to this if she had the concept of them as the same person.
Yep.
Yeah, and then it's like, would Hawkmoth make his wish without there being an identity reveal? So I think this is tied to the Hawkmoth wish, which in theory could come before the identity reveal, but yeah, it's all neater if it gets wrapped up sooner. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm skeptical this will be soon at the very least. I think season 4 finale, but I do think they built it up enough to be soon. I'm just like, why not have paid it off already? So I don't know. We'll see what the structure of season 4 is. Is it a thing where they wouldn't do anything like this until the finale, or is it a thing where there's arcs and special mini episodes and stuff where not like big consequential episodes that happen throughout the season? It could be a thing where it just happens at some point. So we don't really know how 4 and 5 are going to work yet. Okay. So that's all about Sentimonster Adrien. Now you know why, and now you know we're very convinced, apparently, that this will be happening. It's real. It's real. Unlike Adrien himself, who is not a real human.
Yeah, he's a Sentimonster.
He's a real Sentimonster.
He is a real Sentimonster, yeah. This theory is more real than Adrien is as a person, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's inherent. Okay, so there's the Sentimonster stuff. We have a lot of random quick things to talk about. The first one could not be quick. So it's transitioning to what happens in the Ladybug universe the past 2 weeks. The Miraculous social media accounts made a choose your house meme for
this
Ladybug
is the
characters.
worst. There are no good options.
So here's the thing. I think we could spend a podcast talking. I think we could spend the whole podcast. Do we want to do this in 1 minute, or do we want to do a whole podcast on this? Choose your house. I need to know what your answers for the choose your house are.
Oh.
We're not going to spend the podcast. Okay, let me walk through. House 1, Marinette, Lila, Rose, Nathaniel. They put Marinette and Lila in the same house, so this house is complete drama and stuff. So if you want the drama because you're bored and this is like which house do you want to be on for social distancing. If you want the drama because you're bored, house 1, but if not, you want to chill, you would not choose this despite us loving Marinette. You'd not choose house 1. House 2, Adrien, Kagami, Alia, Felix. So Felix and Adrien, not good. Same place, probably.
Yeah.
But you got a lot of cool people here. House 3, Nino, Luca, Sabine, Andre the Ice Cream Man. A lot of chill bros in this house. I'm loving it. Maybe boring, though. House 4, Chloe, Julika, Tiki, and Tom. I don't know why Tiki gets to be a person in a house.
But she does.
I feel like you probably don't want to be in whatever house Chloe's in, no matter how cool
I can't believe they
are.
perfectly created these houses for the maximum amount of drama for each individual person.
I guess so, yeah. There's a lot of good antagonistic combinations. That's probably how they met. In House 5, Gabriel, Natalie, Master Fu, and Plum. Master Fu doesn't have his memories. Maybe this isn't such a conflict. Gabriel in a house with a Kwame, but probably can't see it.
And Natalie.
Delaney, what are you thinking? Which house?
Okay, the problem is, like, none of these houses are ideal. The one I hate the least is House 2. But Felix is so creepy. Like, oh my god.
Other than Felix, though, there's a lot of cool people in House 2.
Yeah, House 2, I can hang out with Kagami and Alia. I'm living the dream.
Yeah, that's not shocking that's your choice.
But Felix, like, he's such a creeper.
Do you think you can ignore him enough?
Oh, he's such a creeper. And then I like House 3, except Luca is in it, and that's not okay.
What do you mean except? I don't understand. Okay, so...
Also, obviously, I would want to hang out with Marinette, but Lila's in the house and I'd kill her.
I feel like Marinette would be the obvious answer is choosing Marinette's house, but they put Lila in, it disqualifies it.
Yeah, it's not okay. Like, no.
April, which house? Is it House 5? Because that's where Hawkmoth is.
So I'm torn because House 5 does seem extremely interesting. plug aside, like Gabriel, Natalie, and Master Fu, like that's gonna be awkward, and I'm there for that.
Okay, for the record, even though Plog is Plog, being stuck in a house with Plog would probably be extremely entertaining.
Yeah, right. So House 5 is very enticing, but in House 3, not only am I going to get baked goods, I'm also going to get ice cream. So
she's not wrong. You make a really good point.
Sabine will bake stuff. Andre, yeah. So you're choosing House 3 or House 5?
The comments on this post are like the greatest thing ever.
I'm gonna go with House 3 because I want those baked goods and ice cream.
Well, to me, this is a clear choice.
You're going 3.
House 3.
Not for the right reasons.
Not for the right reasons.
Who would not want to be serenaded by Luca throughout all of quarantine?
You assume he's going to serenade you the entire time.
Obviously he would.
We're bros. He would serenade me. So,
God, I
already been texting him, so I know he's a good content. House 3, I mean, House 3 is the only one without, like, an antagonistic person in it. These are all really chill people. It's
House
the perfect
3 is
house
my
to be
own
in.
personal.
Well, and, like, Nino's just gonna play, like, he's gonna DJ, like...
Nino might keep you up all night with his DJing, that's the only
No, you cannot not keep me up all night with that. Like, I will be there, living it.
Not you, but other people. Andre, Sabine's she's chill.
I won't lie, House 4 was tempting.
Julika, Tiki. I don't want to be with Tiki. I think Tiki
That's
would kill me. I would be afraid
downside.
Tiki would kill me in my sleep.
That is the legitimate only downside to House 4 is Tiki.
Also, obviously, Chloe would be a nightmare.
Okay, for the record, though, dealing with Tom and Chloe at the same time would be amazing.
That'd be pretty funny dynamic.
And then Julika would burn the house down.
Julika maybe not good. Yes, I think House 2 has its appeal. If you can ignore Felix, House 2 is
Well,
great.
here's the problem. I like House 2, but this Instagram comment makes an extremely important point. I can't let Kagami and Adrien have alone time. Unacceptable. I agree with this.
So you got to be in House 2 to keep them away from each other.
Yeah, this is a great comment.
That's a good point. Point.
And I agree, like, wholeheartedly.
Adrien and Kagami, if they were stuck together for months, they would culminate their.
They're already in a relationship.
Are they?
Whose parents approved this?
It doesn't mean they approved it. I mean, at the end of the finale, they might be dating. It's unclear. But both of the new couples. Okay, there you go. There's our analysis of the houses that they posted. We had the top 10 list last podcast. There was a Twitter poll. Very few people voted, unfortunately. 9 people voted, and April did win the poll though with 4-3-2. Yeah. So April, Delaney, me were the results.
Yay!
Rude.
April confirmed as the voice of the people.
I just know.
You just know. Okay. I thought Delaney's list was the most fan friendly because she had the most popular 2 at the top, but you know.
That's
one
but
Thomas
I'm not
tweet.
The voice of the people.
Apparently not, and you're not bitter about that at all.
I'm sorry.
No, absolutely not. One Thomas tweet we have to talk about. This was from a month ago.
This tweet is incredible.
He says, in response to someone with Amity, actually, is their Twitter avatar now. He says, so I agree with the Amity person. He says, I doubt anyone feels sympathy for Gabriel. You're mistaking giving explanations and showing sympathy, understanding and forgiving main characters and sub-characters.
What?
So, again, Thomas, native French speaker, but, he's a whole thing about how you're not supposed to like Chloe, you're not supposed to like Gabriel, you feel some sympathy for them, but he's talking a lot about this on Twitter. So the problem with this is, like, we've went to painstaking lengths to feel sympathy for Gabriel. What do you mean you doubt anyone feels sympathy for Gabriel? Like, this is the show. It's what the half of the show has been about.
The entire show is about Lake.
April. How incensed are you by this tweet?
I don't like this tweet because obviously, like, there's a part
your
of
man Gabriel is being slandered by the creator of the show.
No, look, he's just trying to get his dead wife out of the dead wife garden and keep his Sentimonster son alive. Like, he's doing the best he can. He can't help it. Come on, guys. Like, let the man have his dead wife alive and his Sentimonster child real. Like, that's all he wants. Just
does he want? Yeah, just real Sentimonster child, a live wife. So much to ask for, right?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I think like now that I don't know why this is like hitting me right now, but I think that what Gabriel's wish needs to be is that I wish for my loved ones to be alive and real.
Is that can wishes be this vague? I don't know. We have to
no, but then he can have both. He can have Adrien as a real boy and Emily alive.
Yeah, there's probably a way to phrase it to get.
And then also as a side, his side piece Natalie will be healed as well.
Okay, and side piece needs to the mistress needs to be alive too. Interesting.
Yes, okay. But that's why he has to phrase it a little bit vaguely, like. I wish my loved ones were alive and well.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, maybe we could do that. That's a good
loophole, but I just want him to have what he needs. He needs to be like a good guy.
Well, also, I mean, we know he's not Hawkmoth in the future, and like, short of him dying, like, he's just not the villain anymore.
Yeah. I think that's true. Yeah, I don't know why Thomas is so pressed about people not being too sympathetic towards Gabriel or Chloe.
Okay,
but,
that's the other thing. I think arguably
I'm the voice of the people.
Also, like, I mean, Chloe is also extremely sympathetic. Her parents.
Oh,
suck.
Don't tell.
Oh, I know. Thomas, he's really mad about
it. Don't tweet at him with justice #justice for Chloe B.
Also, like. Also, it's almost, I mean, to be fair too, though, like, I don't think Thomas understands either that, like, people can love Chloe, then also understand that she's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he understands all this.
He clearly doesn't listen to our podcast because
he does. And that's the thing. He listens to the podcast where we specifically love Hawkmoth. So what an absurd statement to make, knowing all this. Now, it doesn't mean he agrees with anything we're saying, but yeah, I think he's like being semantical, and I think he's trolling. But anyway, who knows?
Oh, he's okay. Regardless,
obviously he's trolling.
He is always trolling. Like that is regardless of what is happening right now. He is always trolling.
Yeah, he's definitely trolling. Okay, last piece. Thomas. We love you, Thomas. Stop bad mouthing our man, though. Okay.
Yeah, leave my man alone.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's our message. And Chloe preferably too, but you know. If we had to pick one,
we don't care about Lila.
Could be Lila.
She sucks. Oh my god.
Okay. Last piece of news: there's a manga. Jeremy announced this and then deleted his Instagram post, but there's another Instagram post. There's a Ladybug manga coming out by Toei, I think. So I think we knew this for a while, but maybe it's coming soon now. The Ladybug manga. There you go.
Look, I don't care. They're like, buy it, and I'll be like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably. Ladybug does not have the best history with comics. There was a racist comic once, and Thomas defended it, and that was his worst moment. But probably this will not be as bad. So we're probably looking forward to the Ladybug manga.
Am I shocked, though? There was that episode that didn't actually happen.
There's also a racist episode. So, yeah, we don't talk about that. Okay, next week. So, next podcast. I have two options. So... Okay. 2 weeks from now is when She-Ra comes out, so we are going to be busy in this next month.
My body is so ready for She-Ra.
Yeah, She-Ra. I almost introduced this as a She-Ra podcast, but then I remembered.
It should have just been a She-Ra podcast.
How dare you? This was an important topic.
I can't handle it. I'm getting a lot this week between Ladybug and She-Ra, and frickin' Rick and Morty. I'm going to explode.
Yeah, and Rick and Morty's back. We're not going to probably send that right away, but yeah. And then next Friday, there we have two more minor shows coming out too. But so we could skip a week. We could come back a month from now, just because there's a lot going on with She-Ra that weekend. Or we could pick a topic I don't have to do any prep for. I think those are the two options here. Which there are some. So,
let me look at let me investigate.
Yeah. I think here are the topics I bolded, quickly is, real butterflies, best akumatized villains, which Ladybug character you...
Wait, when does She-Ra come out? It's the 15th, right?
It's the Friday, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean...
It's the Friday that we would be podcasting.
Well no, we would be podcasting that next week. We podcast every 2 weeks.
It would be the 17th. It would be the 17th.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm saying we could skip the 17th and just next one is on the 31st, or we could do a podcast on the 17th. The which Ladybug character you quiz. There's a we read people's fanfics idea, which we need to get permission from them, I think.
Yes.
So there's, and then, will they date on the show? This one I need to prep for. Combinations of them dating. How could it play out? I want to do this as a topic, but it's like, we'd be speculating about, oh, what if one of them knew when they had a date episode? And so we do a whole podcast on that kind of thing. So.
Okay. Knowing how things operate, we should skip.
Yeah.
We should skip.
Yeah.
You guys are in favor? Okay.
She-Ra weekend's going to be nuts.
It's going to be intense.
People are going to be upset, but we'll be talking about She-Ra.
We're sorry we're upset. We're making you upset. But
should we pick a topic for the 31st?
Yes.
Yeah. Should we do the date one if we want a big one at the end, or should we do top villains or real butterflies? I think those are the bigger ones, the 3 big ones. Would Delaney be ready in a month to do real butterflies? That's the question.
Ooh. Really?
But should that be the next one, though? Should that be the next one?
What if we picked butterflies and then another one, just in case?
No, we need to commit now.
Okay. Let's pick another one, and then Delaney's actually going to finish the outline.
Okay. We'll do, let's do Will They Date on the show, as long as you guys are interested in that one.
Yes. We only talk about it every podcast.
So yeah, will Marinette and Adrien date on the show? It won't end with them getting together. Will they ever date? How could combinations of them, the identity reveals and them dating, how likely are they to date? Stuff like that. So I think this was one of the ones I initially conceived of for the off season. So it's good we get it. Okay. So no podcast 2 weeks from now. We'll be back on the 31st or I guess that's us recording for you guys, June 1st, to talk about will Marinette and Adrien dating. At least there's a good topic to look forward to. So start to set, if you have a lot of time to send in speculation if you want for the month, you could email that if you want.
And if you really miss us, just find us on the She-Ra podcast.
Yes, if you watch that show.
Watch She-Ra.
Yeah.
And the other options, we're on the Discord on the Ladybug channel to talk to us there, overlyanimated.com/Discord. And our Patreon is patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to our current patrons, especially our patron podcast, David, aka Papa Papillon. And thanks as always to our patron executive producers, Ryan Seabox, Hugh, Michael, Beatrice, Hugh, Michael, and Needle. And we will be back to talk about them dating. Check out all the other stuff we have going on, including She-Ra, some other shows. We had the Steven Universe finale podcast, stuff like that. All that at overlyanimated.com. Thank you guys for listening. We will see you in a month. Bye.
Bye.